Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wake Up Call with myself and William.
Hello.
How's everyone feeling out of 10?
I'm feeling like let's see. I think I'm feeling like an 8, maybe a
8 out of 10.
7.7. Wait, nope, never mind. Bitcoin's up more than 1%. I'm like a 8.8 right now.
All right. Well, I'm gonna mute you on here. I don't know if that will do anything on my audience. All right, I'm gonna, we'll talk about the obvious elephant in the room real quick. I don't want to spend the entire live stream on it. I'll just give my thoughts, and then we'll get into the podcast. Obviously, I am against, what happened yesterday. I think it's terrible, and I would like, us as a country to move forward with, dialogue, and violence is never the answer. My heart goes out to the family, and take a moment of silence. All right. So that's really what I have to say about that. And we will, my thoughts and prayers for his family, but we're going to move forward. I don't want to really talk about it all night because, frankly, with his wife and kids, it puts me kind of a little bit of a dark spot of, I feel very, very bad. So with that, let's move forward to a lighter note.
Yeah, with one other capstone, guys, shooting people is bad. So,
yes,
it is. Shocker.
I'm not really a political person, and I'm not going to start today. So let's get into the charts and the analysis. I'll let I'll start it off, I guess, since you don't have yours up just yet. But all right. So as the time of recording, Bitcoin sitting at $115,300. Had a nice bounce off of the 100 moving average. I call this kind of a fake out. You can share your screen and start things off if you want. But I like where we're at. What say you, William?
No, I also am really liking where we're at. And if I share my screen here, just let me know if it's up and people can see. I'm going to assume yes. But so anyway, what I'm looking at here is we're in a really, really, really good spot. So if I clean up this chart a little bit here and, just get rid of a little bit of the noise, we've been in this magenta channel all the way back since July 11th. And we had a fake bullish breakout. We had a kind of a fake bearish breakout, right? These lines aren't perfect here, but this channel has been holding for a long time. And now we're having an opportunity to break to the bull side again. And now that Bitcoin today got above, $114,800. And that's being launched upwards from this bullish breakout of this wedge pattern here that happened yesterday at $113,200. So we're seeing a breakout lead to a breakout. Things from a technical analysis standpoint are looking good. And today we got the CPI inflation too. And I immediately thought it was going to be a shakeout for people because a lot of people said, hey, the inflation's bad. Inflation's on the rise. And yeah, inflation's gone over the past 3 months from 2.3 to 2.7 to 2.9 with regular CPI data. But the thing is if you zoom out, I showed a chart up that I don't have up right now, but over the past 3 years, inflation's come down by like 9% or like the 7 or 8% range it's been at. So things are looking really good. The Fed's long-term targets of inflation is the only thing that matters. They still think it's going to come down to 2% by 2027. So the Fed can still cut. The red that was around earlier today was a fake out. And now you're seeing the reward of keeping your eyes on the important larger macro picture, which is we have a run up to rate cuts happening and we're getting bullish breakouts kind of across the board. So that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, for me, I am, I've been pretty bullish. I shared the tweet where, people kind of got the idea that I was, making trades based off of moving averages. And, I kind of made it clear in the post. It's like, this is kind of pass fail, but really, honestly, there's been moments when I've been bearish, and people accuse me of being a perma bull, but I am not. I was very bearish in 2021, and I was, bearish all the way. I think I started being curious in 2022. June is when I started being curious, and probably about December is when I full on flipped to a bear. But the moving averages, 200 on top of 200 on top of 100 on top of 50 on top of 20. That is essentially a bull market. It's an oversimplification, pass fail. Like I said, I wouldn't make trades based off of it. But we've been in this posture, pretty much since March of 2023. And we've been in this posture. And until Bitcoin flips this posture, I'm going to remain bullish. Now, I will say I am less bullish on Bitcoin itself as, an ROI perspective, because even back in 2022, 118 was my first major target. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to move the goalposts and be like, well, we're here. So now it's, it was 118, 138, 207. Those were my major targets. So we hit number one. To me, this is when, things really start to heat up, especially really, really quietly. Ethereum over the last month or so. To me, this is the thing that I'm like, oh my God, this is, I don't want to be like FOMO time or anything like that, but I really think, and I'll show you as well, but I don't want to be, FOMO time or any crazy thing like that. But realistically, very, very quietly, Ethereum over the last month, we have these same sort of dates here, where Bitcoin has been basically at the same price here. You could call it 110, whatever round number you want to call it. But essentially, Bitcoin has been at the same price. And Ethereum, the first time it was there, Ethereum was at 3,000. Bitcoin goes up to 123, comes back down. Ethereum comes back down to 3,500. Bitcoin then goes up again. Ethereum comes back down again to 4,200. And, this is like, it doesn't feel like euphoria. It doesn't feel like we're just rockets and Lambo ships or anything like that, because Ethereum's not into price discovery. But realistically, this is up 50% over the last month over Bitcoin. And that to me is a massive, massive, massive domino that is falling. And at the same time, while this is happening, Bitcoin dominance, we talked about the moving averages. This is a bear market. That's what a bear market looks like. Bitcoin dominance is literally in a bear market.
Which is what you want. It's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah. But the other thing too is like, it's crazy. It feels like it was a million years ago now where everyone was saying Ethereum's dead. Because it was down at like $1,700 and everyone was just kicking Ethereum while it was down. And then in really the span of about 5 months, boom, you're above $4,000 and everyone's just like, Ethereum was, I always said great things about Ethereum. What are you talking about? I've been buying all the way since I was down. I never lost faith. Yeah. And it all came up. But I think a key thing that you said too is that like the market is quietly really becoming bullish. You don't see a lot of major headlines, but you see Bitcoin, if you're using technical analysis, really getting above some key resistance areas. You're seeing Ethereum stay strong after it had, a little slip from its most recent move to the upside. And everything is just slowly creeping above or at key points of resistance. And it's happening without a lot of people knowing about it, unless, of course, you're, watching people like yourself, me, or following other technical analysis or traders over on X, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you guys are at. And it's at the point where it's like, okay, they're about to pop this off because Ethereum hasn't had a new, Ethereum hasn't really had like an exciting new all-time high. Solana hasn't had a new all-time high. There are other coins that haven't had all-time highs yet. It's like, you really think the market's going to let that happen, and not play everybody like a fiddle, especially with hedge funds in the game now? It's like, I don't know about that.
Right. Man, I have the perfect meme for this illustration, and I'll show you something real quick on this. Because I could talk about this all day, but it's like 2021 alt season. This was us. And then this is us now in 2025 thinking about 2021. And it's just like, we remember it so differently than what actually transpired, than what actually took place. But in reality, you know, and I talk about this a lot. This is the sort of the roller coaster ride. I call this is my own little thing of like the money flow, the roller coaster ride, which, you know, it's just emotional warfare being in
This is nice.
cryptocurrency. So this is the emotional roller coaster ride of cryptocurrency and the sort of money flow. Okay. And the way I relate it is, the longest part of a roller coaster is that first, like, you're just climbing the hill, just the and for me, that's basically been the last 3 years from fiat into Bitcoin. And then, as just like the roller coaster ride goes, the further along the ride goes, the quicker we're going to transition, in my opinion, into the other stages. And in my opinion, very quietly, we have transitioned to this phase where Ethereum is vastly outperforming, Bitcoin. And, I'll show you real quick. I don't want to hog the mic here because I have a tendency to do that. Um, but, this idea that, I just hear it all the time, like 2021, just like the meme that I just showed. It's like in our brains, we remember the euphoria and how crazy it really was. But in reality, okay, so in reality, Bitcoin, the first part of the ride, I call that price discovery. And it's an important distinction to make between making an all-time high and then properly getting into price discovery, which for me was 118,000 was like proper price discovery for Bitcoin.
Mhm.
And what I have right here is the previous cycle here. And I have January 6th, 2021. This is when Bitcoin, this is when Bitcoin made an all-time high right here. But in 2021, January, this is when it got into price discovery. And I have looked far, I have looked wide, and I have looked, we'll just show Ethereum. But I have yet to find a coin during the same time. In our brains, we think that when Bitcoin was ripping, everything was ripping, but that's not the reality of the matter. And I have the same date circled here. As you can see, I've done this, 600 times. But I've yet to find a coin that existed in 2021 that had a bull market, that was, you had your 2017, it had a bear market and was existing in 2021, that was either not at its bear market lows, near its bear market lows, or lower than its bear market lows during the same time when Bitcoin goes into price discovery, which was about 40K. And from here, Bitcoin only does another 50%. Like that was it. That was the end of the show. But even just Ethereum, the second biggest one, like here's the whole story. This is the same date. It does a 5x. That's the second largest one. And so to me, like, do I think that Ethereum's going to do a 5x from here? No, not necessarily. Things get compressed.
No, that would be crazy.
But
wake
from
up
a
one day,
structural
Ethereum's
standpoint,
$20,000.
Yeah, from a structural standpoint, that's what I think, is quietly sort of at play here. So
Yeah, what I would say is like is there's always a lag. You showed that money flow cycle where it's Bitcoin into your Ethereums, your XRPs, your Solanas right now, and then it's your other large caps, and then the mid caps and the small caps. And the pinnacle of money is continuously moving. And there's like a 1 month lag typically between when Bitcoin hits a top and when altcoins hit a top historically. And right now is the time because of how Bitcoin's been ripping and how Ethereum has lately been ripping. And also XRP has done great. And XRP's had a really good bounce over the past few days too. And how some of the other kind of like dinosaur coins have performed over the past like 6 months or so. They've really been able to pop. You're like, okay, things are really moving now. And if I'm in really, really, really big large caps, it's either because I have a large enough position where if I make a 20% or 30% trade, I'm ecstatic on and I walk away and I make that quick trade, or it's I'm still building long-term, 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year positions for your Bitcoin. And if you have that same thoughts or feelings for your Ethereum, your XRP, or Solana. Otherwise, you should, if you're looking for those like classic, air quote, classic altcoin returns, you should be trying to front run that money cycle. You should be trying to get into your mid caps or maybe some smaller caps that have some good fundamental strength or some pumpamentals, some hype around them to be able to ride that big wave upwards. Because, across so many charts, and what we're looking at right now is Solana, we're seeing just like quiet strength. So looking at Solana here, this is the 8-hour chart. Let me zoom out a little bit to the daily. You know, Solana since April, early April, has just been in this channel, and it's exciting, but you've, you know, a sweet higher low. You're pretty sweet higher low, a series of higher highs, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs, a very higher low, right? Just across the board, just slowly building strength, but not having major, you know, multi-day long, entire week long rallies where you get 50%, 75% in a week. Right? You have your 50% down 50%, up 50%, down 60%, up 50%, down 40%, you know, and just setting in strength upon strength upon strength, and now getting to the point where it's finally beginning to break out of this channel. In fact, it is right now, as we speak, breaking above $226.82, the very top line of our channel. And this is now at the point where, you know, maybe Solana chops for a few days or whatever, but it's at the point where once it gets above this line, it's in a potential position to blast off. And then everyone dives into Solana late, and they become liquidity for the people who are buying all in here, because now the headlines, people are diving in, and you are selling, or you are buying in to all the people who are selling to you, and you're the exit liquidity. And that's the thing, is finding that quiet strength to be able to position so that you can then sell on the exit liquidity entering the market, which is, of course, means someone's going to lose money unless they have a long-term position, but that is the market, and that's how markets work. You know?
Yeah, 100%. People, you know, I think one thing that I teach against, and I think that you probably, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you'd probably agree, is like, you know, we have in our head this idea that there's there's going to be this smooth transition from, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be bearish, and then everyone's going to buy, and then is everyone ready to take off now? Okay, all right, let's buy, and then we're going to take. That's not the reality of how it goes. You know, it's the boring, boring until it is not. And, you know, the crypto is the king of that. And I say all the time, if you want, you know, a 2x, like, you can't cry about a 20% dip like that. There is a yin and a yang for every, you know, there's consequences for having the most volatile asset in the world is volatility. That's the consequence of it. So
the other thing I want to add to that too is you also don't have to wait for a 2x. If you get one 20% trade or one 30% trade, hey, guess what? You just outperform. You're a top 1% trader in all of Wall Street. You could walk away for the entire year and you are in the top 1%. All right, like, that's fine as long as you're leaving the market making money. That the thing that I always try to tell and coach people is just like, you don't have to hold the bag the whole time. You're in profits. You can sell a little bit. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how much you love it. Just sell a little bit, because however much you love that coin and believe in it, I really hope you love yourself and believe in yourself more, and be a good boss to yourself. Pay yourself a little bit. Make sure you're getting something out of it, because you never know when the top's in, right?
Yeah.
Not myself. No one knows when the top's in. So make sure you're sitting in some profits.
Me too. Like, if there's a weakness of my, you know, technical analyst, I'm known, Alex coined me as the master bottom feeler. But I'm not, I'm awesome. Not great. I'm not as good at feeling the euphoria as I am at feeling the fear. You know, for me, like, my strength is feeling the fear.
You're literally in the trenches. You're in the ground. Yeah. Well, dude, what are your thoughts on CPI as well, and just kind of like the macro picture of things? Because you see it all the time. People are going recession, and you see, like, you know, the headlines today. Inflation's really, really bad, and we talked a little bit about it. But I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on what the macro picture is that we're currently trading in.
All right, so okay, my example that I always love to give is one of my favorite movies. The entire point that Bitcoin is here in the first place is because of the 2008 financial crisis, right? And so one of my favorite movies that represents that is The Big Short, right? And I relate it to this all the time, in that he was fundamentally correct. You know what I mean? Like, he spotted, Michael Burry spotted a fundamental issue in the market and proceeded to get wrecked for the next 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was 3 years. I thought it was 1 year, but no, you're right. It was 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 2000. It was late 2005. He started shorting. He found a fundamental, issue in the market, and he started shorting it in late 2005, and then proceeded to get wrecked to the point like if he wasn't a $1 billion institution, he would have been liquidated. If it had been
Oh,
me or
yeah.
you shorting it, we would have been liquidated. And so my thoughts on that are: is there a fundamental problem? Is the chicken going to come home to crow? Absolutely. But this idea that, I think in our brains, we think that we see bad inflation, we see whatever, and it takes a long time to actually come to fruition. So, in my opinion, is there a fundamental issue? Yes, that's the whole reason I like Bitcoin in the first place. Is the chicken going to come home to crow? Is things going to break at a grand scale? I think so, but I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't think it's going to be next year. I think 2029 is my prediction. But
why 2029 specifically?
Okay.
That you just being like, I would short now, which means I should short in 3 years, like Michael Burry, or 4 years. Yeah.
No. Okay. So this is all right. Now we're getting somewhere.
We're cooking now.
All right. So for me, people talk about the 4-year cycle. And to me, 4-year cycle is a piece to the puzzle, not the puzzle. Okay. Maybe it's something, but it's not the entire picture. The one piece of the puzzle that I actually put way more weight into is actually the 7-year cycle, which is not a crypto thing. It's a stock market thing. And to me, Bitcoin, historically speaking, 45 days after the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones makes an all-time high, Bitcoin makes an all-time high. So I think it's much more correlated with that than actually, a 4-year cycle or anything like that. But for the past 100 years, there absolutely has been a 7-year cycle at play with the stock market. And I'll give you a couple examples, but you could go all the way back, for 100 years. So these are the ones just off the top of my head. 87 was the 7th year. That was Black Monday. 94, the bond market crash. That was the 7th year. 2001, the dot-com bubble busted and 9/11 happened. That was the 7th year. 2008 was the 7th year. That was the great financial crisis, the entire purpose of Bitcoin in the first place. 2015, the Chinese stock market crash. That was the 7th year. 2022, we had a recession. FTX went to zero. Luna went to zero. The war in Ukraine. All these things happened in 2022. It was a bad year for a lot of people. And so the next one is 2029. And so I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not sitting here predicting any of that. If I were to give a ridiculous hypothesis that means nothing from a guy in his basement recording here, it would be maybe AI, like actually at a grand scale, starts taking over people's jobs, and the actual real deal collapse of the dollar, not like we know it today.
Yep. I have this chart pulled up. It's the S&P 500 because I was like, wait, 2022? I was like, 2022 was a bad year, was a tough year. And then I looked and I was like, God damn it. Mother. I don't know if you like cursing or not in your show, but yeah, it was a pretty bad year because for the stock market, oh, hang on. I have my, can't see what the percentage is. Here we go. Yeah, the stock market fell 28%, which is basically a total utter collapse of the stock market, right?
People literally lost their jobs,
Yeah. So yeah, no, that 7 years seems to work out well. I also think the 4-year cycle is something we can kind of throw out the window right now for crypto too. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with the macro picture, but that 7-year cycle is fascinating. Not something I'd paid attention to before. But it's just because like the game is different now in crypto. Crypto is, the pool was much smaller. And now with ETFs and your Michael Saylors of the world, the pool is much larger. And it is as large as the world of traditional finance. And you are playing with much bigger fish now who play a very different ball game than, the Wild West Cowboys of, the 2017 bull run and the 2020, 2021 bull run as well, who play a much longer game, and they are the ultimate master manipulators of markets, and they will shake you out every which way they can. So my thought process was, as soon as the hedge funds came in, who are the master manipulators, they went, oh, wait, there's an industry with billions and billions and billions of dollars in it, with people who have a dogmatic, almost religious belief that things have to work a certain way. oh, we're gonna fuck with them so hard, and that's exactly what they've been doing. They've been shaking out crypto investors left and right, particularly when the ETFs first went live, and we had a new all-time high before the halving.
Yeah.
And so these hedge funds are just going, so what does the cryptocurrency industry believe? Cool. I'm going to do everything to break that because I'm going to be able to liquidate so many people. And that is one of the things, and this was not coined by me, but coined by the white whale over on Twitter, that apex predator mentality. There's no one bigger of an apex predator than those hedge funds out there manipulating markets, and crypto is rife with it, with inexperienced traders. A lot of people who got lucky. I certainly got lucky in my bull run. I wasn't really skilled at all at trading, I would say, until like, I don't know, 3 years ago, before I finally developed the system after just losing a crap ton. But yeah, so I mean, that's one of the reasons why I don't think the 4-year cycle is really anything to pay attention to much, except for looking at historical trends. And if you want an example of that, go look and see what happened to gold after its ETF went live in, I think, 2006 it was.
I have a I'll give you my theory on the 4-year cycle in just a second, but I just want to say the reason that I am like Wyckoff is my bread and butter, and it's shout out to the GOAT, in my opinion. Richard D. Wyckoff made this 100 years ago, and it still works to this day because it was centered around the fundamental realization that stock price trends were driven primarily in institutional and other large operators who manipulate stock prices in their favor. The game was rigged from the start, Jimbo.
Yeah, and that's markets for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
that's why it's always good to take profits, because there's someone way smarter with way bigger, bags of money than you who can actually move the markets. Oh, and they also get insider information. So, hey.
Yeah, that's my whole thing too, is like, that's why I don't want to say I don't pay any mind to news. As far as like, I don't want to say I pay any mind to it. To me, it's like, it's a bigger thing, like, bigger time frames type stuff. But for me personally, this idea that you are going to read a news article and then have the edge over the person that you are trading against. Oh yeah, BlackRock. You're going to have an edge over them, which, by the way, like, who hired the journalist who wrote the article in the first place? Like, this idea that you're going to have some information that they have not had for like 6 months, I think is
also, also at that point with BlackRock, it's just like, yeah, they own the journalists, they own the news company, and also they definitely paid and probably orchestrated the thing that the news is reporting on.
Right, exactly.
Like, at that point, like, it becomes some real, like, we always joke about the Illuminati, but like, it's real. The Illuminati probably not, but it's just BlackRock and then some other shadowy billionaire, trillionaire people who are just like, manipulating markets and, buying everything, because that's how the world works.
Yeah. And from my experience, I even have this chart. It's literally called Trade the News and You Will Lose. Like, I like to put these little graphics on charts, but you have all these like big scary, nice. You have these big scary events, and it's like, by the time we hear about it, it's already the opposite is true. Like, the tariffs was the bottom. We had the Japan rate cut.
The Japan rate cut got me.
Like, it didn't go lower for a second. And then like Germany was the local bottom. We had the ETF got approved for the first time at the local top over here. The war in Israel, the first time in 9/11 2023, the worst 9/11 in US history. That's a joke, a bad one, a dumb one. Silicon Valley Bank went to zero at the local bottom. FTX went to zero at the bottom. So yeah, I have this chart, Trade the News, You Will Lose. To me, it's just like there's a saying in Wall Street, or there's a saying in Congress, is like, never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's what they do. They manipulate on our emotions with fear and greed constantly. So my theory on the 4-year cycle, I'm not willing to say abandon it. I've abandoned my child. I have abandoned my child. I'm not willing to abandon it just yet. However, I've always placed more weight in the 7-year cycle since I've been doing content. That was one of the reasons I was so bullish in 2022, was because I was aware that it was the 7th year cycle. It's called something. It's called a Shemitah is what it's called. But I
don't know, 7-year cycle's got to get a ring to it.
So I'm not willing to abandon it. This is my theory, though. Here's my theory. It's always been less weighted than the 7-year cycle. My theory is 2024. We had this we willed this alt season into existence, but we were not really structurally ready to go what we did. You know what I mean? We got kind of we had pre-euphoric we had this pre-euphoria that we kind of willed into existence. And in my opinion, the political Trump, Melanie, all these different meme coins sort of prematurely set us off, stole $70 billion of liquidity from Solana ecosystem, which at the time was, the third or fourth largest cryptocurrency. And so Bitcoin was ahead of schedule according to the 4-year cycle. And then what it did was it set us back 6 months. And in my opinion, now in hindsight, or now that the dust is settled, over here, we were unhealthy. We were prematurely euphoric. And then everyone got way too bearish here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But what this did, to me, the political coins are actually a net neutral to cryptocurrency, because initially they were very bad, stole lots of liquidity, sort of nerfed any sort of bull market activity that we were having. But what they did long term that I think puts us in a much better spot, and I'd like to get your opinions on this, is it sort of purged all the nonsense. Like, there was just so much nonsense that existed in this space. And when those coins died, it purged everything. And now that we've recovered, it's like, from a structural standpoint, quietly, we are so much healthier than what we were. So my theory is that set us back 6 months, but I'd like to get your thoughts on what I just said.
Yeah, that's interesting, because my thoughts had just kind of stopped with, the Melania and the Trump coins pulled all the liquidity away from everything else, particularly in the Solana ecosystem. I mean, you saw everything for about like a 48-hour time period just slam down because of the liquidity that the Trump Melania coins sucked in. But I actually hadn't thought about it, that it kind of scorched earthed like all the garbage, and there's still a lot of garbage that's percolating again because the markets are green and Solana's up, and that's the meme coin casino right now. Has a lot of good things going for it outside of meme coins too, by the way. But that's where a lot of retail goes and gets excited for. But yeah, it definitely burned a lot of the crap out.
I call it a purge.
Yeah, the purge. I mean, very much so. I'd be curious to see how many coins died at that moment. It could have there were millions of coins being made, so it could be millions of coins were purged at that time. My issue, though, with just like political coins is that it leads you down. While that is like short term, I think a good thing that happened, it does lead towards like the over politicization of crypto itself, and then it helped to lead more so towards, because it was a huge money opportunity, right? Money making opportunity. For the Trump family in this case. And then you have World Liberty Financial, which I don't think is inherently bad at all, but I think that the president's family being tied to something that is about to have new regulation and laws passed isn't necessarily a good thing, even though, hey, it's great for Bitcoin, and it's good for fundamentals in the short term, which is great to trade and all that. But you're now at the point where it's becoming so politicized that the other side of the aisle, you're going to have the Democrats are going to have like a knee-jerk reaction to, well, what if I pass anything that's positive for crypto, even if I like it, I'm further enriching like this dude I hate, right? And then it's gonna swap. So the political meme coin purge, I think, is generally a good thing. But the continued scale of politicization of crypto makes me worried that once midterms come around, if there's a swing from Republicans to Democrats, that you're going to have some hasty decisions be made on crypto policy that could result in, crypto taking a dip or the industry getting hurt. And so that's where I think that conversation is going, and is something that's not really healthy for the space long term, because then we run into the potential possibility of, hey, 4 years we get something good. Hey, 4 years we get something bad. Hey, 8 years we get something good. 8 years we get something bad. And it's just this back and forth. And that's my biggest fear with the introduction of political coins that have led to the further politicalization of crypto. So not necessarily the thing that you brought up. I think that purge is a good thing, but it's the next obvious conversation.
Yeah, the next sort of domino to fall. And what I tell my audience too is I always relate it to. I'm a big reader. I love, I try to read at least one self-help book a week, and one of my favorite ones is the classic The Richest Man in Babylon. I don't know if you ever read that book.
I haven't. No.
It's a great book, but it's super simple book. The idea of like paying yourself first, 10% of all you earn is yours to keep. If you don't pay yourself first, it'll find a way to get spent. But, in the book, like he has this mentor, right, who was like the richest man in Babylon. And this guy is like really, really poor. And he's trying to, sort of pull himself up or whatever. And the mentor tells him the principle of paying yourself first, right? And the first thing he does is the guy who was being mentored, he's like, he comes back and visits him. He's like, how's how's it going with that? He's like, yeah, I saved my money and I bought a nice feast and I bought a purse for my lady and this and that. And he's like, you ate your baby. And he's like, no, you gotta take your money, save it, and then invest it. And then put your babies to work. That's what he calls it. And then, he goes away and he comes back, and the next thing, and this is what I relate it has a point. I know it sounds like we're on a rabbit chase, but I promise it has a point. But he comes back and he's like, how is it going now? And he's like, yes, I saved my money and then I invested it. And he said, what'd you invest it in? He said, I got advice from a brickmaster about jewelry. He's like, I'm going to be so rich and this and that. And then the mentor tells him, he's like, you lost your baby. And the point is, like, don't take advice from a brickmaster other than anything about bricks. If he gives you investment advice about bricks, then sure. But if he gives you an investment about jewelry, it's not a good investment. And I relate it to these like politicians or these rappers or whoever. Like, I have no interest in buying a coin from somebody who has not dedicated their life to this super complicated space of cryptocurrency. And I'm not going to take investment advice from a brickmaster other than anything except for bricks. And if there's a politician or there's a rapper who drops their coin, it's like, if you like going to the casino, I would rather just bet on sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At least I can have more fun with that. And also you have better chances of making money. You actually genuinely do. You're better off gambling on sports. Well, dude, on that topic then, like, who are the brick makers, if you will, who you like in the space? So in other words, if no one understood that, like, what crypto projects are you like? I really like how they're structured, their organization, what they have planned, their leadership, what groups are those?
Okay, good. So for me, I like a lot of the quote dinosaur coins. Because, and the reason, there's a very specific reason for this. And for me, it's just a principle of life of, it's easy to be awesome when everything is awesome, but what are you actually when life hits you in the mouth? Because that, to me, you're not like, it maybe become this thing. No, like, you're revealed to be what you properly are in the worst of times. And so, like, I like projects that have been hit in the mouth and have endured all of these things. I like things with good tokenomics. Inflation, price equals supply plus demand. So, for me, those are the sort of pinnacles of what I look for. But some of the dinosaur coins that I like long term, maybe not as much of an ROI investment. I really like what Solana is doing. But ROI investments that I really like VeChain. I like how they're positioned. I made a lot of money on XRP. I was never an XRP maximalist. To me, XRP is Trump. Either you love it, you worship it, or you hate it. I found myself being a moderist where I thought it was going to $5 or $8, 30 cents. And I still think it's going to $5 or $8 today at $3 and whatever it's at. So I like, Solana. I like VeChain. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, but I'm a Bitcoin mostly because I know it's going to be here 20 years and that's my time horizon. I like a lot of the projects like that. I like Link. Some of the quote dinosaur coins because I think that they have for me, Wyckoff structure, which, you know, I think is going to do really well.
Yeah, well, I like all those coins that you mentioned too, and there is something to be said for a project that gets just absolutely punched in the mouth and is able to stick around. The coin, one of the coins I thought you might bring up, and I was trying to pull something up on my computer, but
That's
my
not the end
computer's
of the
really glitching
list.
out right
That's,
now.
you know, oh
Yeah, but like one that comes to mind for me is, and I've been critical of them in the past, but like then I got to know their team, and their team's awesome. It's Hedera.
oh yes,
I really like the Hedera team a lot. Like I met their CTO, their head engineer, like one of the smartest people ever. I met him at ETH Denver, and just their entire team was just awesome and blew me away. Also, the folks at Stellar. Like I've been very critical of Stellar as well, and I think they need to do some more. But the thing is, after I met with the team, they really described to me like, hey, we're really kind of here for like the institutions. And then they have Lindsay on the team who's actually out there like onboarding people, like actual people in Latin America. And I was like, oh shit, like this is actually kind of dope. You guys are just doing a bunch of stuff. You just, you know, haven't really done a ton really telling that story effectively. So I was like, okay, like you guys are you know, doing well and interesting. But obviously like I love Solana,
yeah,
love Ethereum, I love Bitcoin. I think Solana of those three is the better returns that you can
yeah,
possibly get, because I think that, you know, when folks who go to BlackRock and go to Fidelity and they say, hey, I want exposure to the altcoin space, there's ETH and Solana, which one do I get? They're going to say, well, they both get you exposure to the altcoin space, but this one will get you 3% with staking and this one will get you 8% on staking. And they'll go, okay, I'll choose
yeah,
Solana. I think Ethereum is still, you know, great and wonderful, and I think what Ethereum does is really important for the world in terms of like its mission of creating a decentralized network. I think Ethereum is really important for
yeah,
humanity, and I think you can make more money on
yeah.
Solana. But like other projects, I love Immutable X. I'm a lover of the Web3 gaming space. Like it, just like personally, the use case is really near and dear to my heart, and I think it's how you onboard the masses. What Immutable X is doing as a team and project, and they also changed up their tokenomics, so we'll see if the price can get a little hotter. And then other projects I love, like I really like Aerodrome, I really like Morpho, I like Syrup. I know Portubeast is watching. He hits me up on Twitter all the time, dude, with like syrup notes and Maple Finance notes, which is great because he helped put it on my radar screen. So shout out to you, Portubeast. And then I'm trying to think of other projects I love that aren't coming to mind. I mean, I really enjoy Avalanche too. Every single time I've ever had an opportunity to use Avalanche, yeah. Yep. Avalanche has always worked like a dream, except when I first used it, because you had to really make sure you were on the A or the B or the C chain, and it was not user friendly. Once they got rid of that, like, what was it? Trader Joe is a great decentralized exchange. I've played some Web3 games, Off the Grid on Avalanche, really good game. Yeah, so those are some of like the coins.
To
I really
me,
like.
AVAX too is like, you know, it's that sort of dinosaur, like really good TA structure that I look for, which is a long bottoming structure. You know, and you know, obviously leading. I want to say my thoughts on H bar because that one was one, but I want to say this real quick is like, obviously leading Solnic. We kind of talked about it a little bit offline, but one of the things that we did, or a couple of things that we did, was we said that we were going to bridge to other ecosystems to sort of help, you know, the discoverability. Base was one that was promised. I bridged to AVAX because I thought that it could have potential there to sort of like, as the sun rises, you know, rising tides floats all ships type deal. But as far as H bar, in 2022, I was a full on H barbarian. You know, that was like my number one altcoin. I love H bar to this day.
What was
And
it
in
about
fact,
H bar that like made you first like be like, oh, this is my favorite coin?
yeah, it's just like reading in the white paper, like, you know, I was a miner. I still mine, but I had one of the largest mining operations in my city. And, you know, I was mining Ethereum back in the day, and, you know, just the nightmare of, you know, paying over 100 gwei or 200 gwei or whatever for these transactions and just waiting 10 minutes. Like there's never been a time where I send a transaction and then it's just in limbo for 10 minutes. I'm like, oh shit, did I send this to the right spot? Like that never, I've been in this space for 10 years and that never doesn't happen to me to this day. And when I did H bar for the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. It's like I hit send, and by the time I looked up at my phone, it was already there. I was like, this is the fastest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I like the tokenomics. The reason that I kind of haven't really had HBAR, because to me, it's like you have to separate what is a good ROI investment versus like what is the technology doing. They're not like, we kind of have this where we blend them together, where if it's doing awesome things, it makes it a good investment, and that's not necessarily always the case.
It's rarely the case in my
Right.
experience, because it's about like, hey, are you doing super cool stuff? Yeah. Are you telling people about it? Oh, we are. Okay. Is it actually easy for the people to use? Oh no, it's not. You were so close. You were so close.
So let me. No, I did the wrong thing here. My bad. But HBAR to me, I'm like kind of hypersensitive a little bit to inflation. And the reason is because I was so like bullish on HBAR. And it was the one, I don't want to say it burned me. But and I don't blame HBAR. And I have way like HBAR is going to be one of my top altcoins in the bear market. It's going to be one of my top bear market like accumulation. Obviously, Bitcoin is going to be number one for me, but HBAR is going to be like right up there with Solana and XRP. I might get some XRP depending on how low it goes. I have a pretty large position still, but HBAR was the one that kind of like burned me a little bit on the delusion of supply. And it was in 2022. They didn't, it's not like they created new supply or anything like that. What they did was, in order to survive that recession, that bear market, they sort of front loaded some of their scheduled inflation dumps from later on, and they front loaded them for 2022. And I think, for this run, so to speak, it could have been a lot better. I think it's still going to do good. But if you look at the market cap, like it's in price discovery, where the price,
by a
it was
wide
just a
margin.
retracement. So short term, it kind of sucks a little bit, but long term, it's already 85% circulating. And to me, it's like, okay, that's amazing. That's you don't have to fight with delusion of supply. So for me, like HBAR was the one that I had to learn that lesson on, because I was just like, look at price, look at charts, and it's like, no, actually, you got to look at the market cap. Regardless of what the XRP army will tell you.
I was just about to say, you used to have such an XRP, like large XRP position. You believe in market cap. Wow.
Yes, sir. That's literally where I got the I sold 40% of my XRP publicly after accumulating it publicly at 30 cents. I sold 40% at $3.33. And I bought my farm. And actually the target was 30%, but we went a little bit over budget. And that's where I got that number from. It wasn't based off of the price. It was based off of the market cap. That was a market cap target for me. And,
on your farm, do you have bulls?
We will have bulls.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, nice. Get some livestock guardian dogs. Keep the bears away.
Yeah. So yeah, HBAR to me, I love HBAR. Saucer Swap 2 was one of my first big wins in the bear market. That did a 10x for me early on. That was like in 2023. I was a big Saucer Swap guy, and I was making a ton of money staking, liquidity mining, and all that stuff with USDC, Sauce, HBAR, all that stuff. So that was one of my first big wins this cycle around, was actually Saucer Swap. So yeah, no, I love HBAR for sure.
Yeah, my first wins, because 2023 is when things started popping off. And for those of you who don't remember, maybe weren't paying attention, that was, we were just grinding. We had just gone through the bear market and we were just consolidating. And when you're in that phase of, what was the 4-year cycle, I assume maybe it's still around, but the only things that did well were things that had some good fundamentals going for them, or had enough hype to make it go. Like Render did great for me. I made a ton of money on Render in 2023. I made a good amount of money on Injective. Caspa started popping off in 2023 as well. There was one other coin too. Pepe. And also I made a crap ton on Illuvium, because it had the hype of like its game coming out. And right now, Illuvium is just totally in the trash can. And I've spoken with members of the Wolves DAO. Do you know Wolves DAO?
No, I don't.
So they're the most like elite, if you will, DAO for Web3 game developers. And I had them on. We were chatting with them. Alex is friends with them, and they were just like, we were like, hey, what about alluvium? And they were just like laughing. I was like, oh yeah. He's like, they don't know how to make games at all, dude. Stay away from that project. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I think I had like 10% of my bag left, and I was like, sell. And then ever since then, it was just like, whoosh. I was like, oh, thank God I listened to the
He
wolves.
rugged.
Yeah.
William rugged alluvium.
William rugged. I rugged everybody. I'm sorry. But I'd sold 90% before into a liquidity pump because I was buying when I saw quiet strength, and then sold into everyone buying, right? Well, there you go. You got to pay
that's what I
attention
say
to
all the
markets
time.
when
It's like,
shit's boring.
Yeah, you don't need to, like, this is what I teach, and I already heard you talk about it, so I know you agree too. It's like, we have this idea that we need to go on this secret assassin mission where we're going to buy. We're going to wait. And then when we get at the bottom and we're not going to be in the red for a second, boom, we're going to go all in. And then we're going to wait and we're going to wait and we're going to wait. And when it gets to the absolute top, boom, then we're going to sell. And it's like, one person will do that. I hope it's you. You know, I really do. I'm rooting that you are the guy who goes on this secret ninja mission, who buys the bottom and sells the top. But in reality, you don't need to do that to make money. You just need to be in the correct flavor more times than you are not. And you can make more than enough money in this space.
Yep, exactly. And also, there was a great question here from Carried834 on TikTok. It was around an exit strategy around Bitcoin and, in this case, USDT, or the stable coin of your choosing. So, what's your thoughts there about do you when you make a trade, is there a certain percentage of it that goes straight into Bitcoin, or does it always go all into stable coins and then you keep playing the market and you do things from there?
There's not, this is a cop-out answer, but I'm going to give it. There's not a cookie cutter answer for that. And I think it's, case by case, depending on what are your goals. Like, are you, like in my case, when I sold my XRP, I was buying a farm. So I sold it into stables and then converted that into, cash. But it's like, or are you trying to accumulate more crypto? Are you trying to trade the crypto? Are you like long-term trying to set up a retirement plan where you're using Bitcoin as a sort of hedge against inflation? So it's a case-by-case thing. For me personally, if I'm trying to create more crypto, there's always FUD about USDT, but it's, again, been around. It's like you were the one that brought this up to me, where it's like, it's one of the largest holders of bonds.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think USDT is going anywhere. I think both of them are fine. I like PayPal USD. That's cool too. You can just off ramp onto PayPal now.
Oh, did you see my tweet that I put out not too long ago? It was about Venmo and like their use of crypto.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I went and I bought Courtyard.io. It's a place where you can go, and they use Polygon actually, and you can go and open up digital packs of Pokemon cards. They're the largest acquirer of slabbed Pokemon cards, and you can open up a digital graded Pokemon card that is held on stored, digitally on the blockchain. And if it's cards you want to keep, you can actually have them mail it to you, right? It's legit. It's a really dope project, and all the blockchain stuff is just in the background, so no one knows. And it's the #1 Pokemon card market in the world right now. And so I went over and I opened up like their ultimate pack. It's about like $2,500. I got a card I didn't want, sold it immediately for like about $1,300, $1,400. And so I had about another $1,500 or the $1,200 or so that was left over in USDC. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, hey, let me see about, bringing this back over into my wallet. And there was an option that came up that said, oh, hey, you can just do this on Venmo. And I was like, oh, really?
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I was so excited. So I just went and clicked one button. I was like, send to Venmo. And then I was like, okay, transaction processing. And I was like, I didn't test it. Oh God, I didn't test it. My 2017 crypto mind. I was just like, oh my God. And then, I don't want to just have thrown away basically, $1,200, $1,400 or $2,000, whatever it was. Cause I opened up some other packs too. And then I was just like staring at my Venmo. I was like, come on, baby. And then after about like a minute and a half, it populated in my Venmo. And I was like, oh, that's sick. I had faith. I had so much faith. That's awesome. It's awesome. That worked.
You have little faith. Yeah, no, I've sent whole Bitcoins. Yeah. I've sent whole Bitcoins off to the ether. So learn from my mistakes.
God.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah,
but hey, thanks for helping to make Bitcoin deflationary.
Yeah, no, that's what I say all the time. People are like, Bitcoin's going to zero. It's like, I made sure of it. I promise you.
Made sure of it.
I made sure that it will not. Yes, you're welcome. I do this for you guys. Not because I was a high school idiot kid. Not because of that for sure. Uh,
Nope.
Yeah, I remember Venmo and PayPal. The fact that they do that now, to me, is perhaps the most awesome like evolution of crypto that we've had. Like the other day, I mean, this is maybe a few weeks ago, but there was some weird reason where my aunt sent my they sent me they wanted to send to my mother-in-law like $100 or whatever, and they one of them had PayPal and one of them had Venmo, and it to me like they sent it to me because they wanted me to send it to her, and I was like, it doesn't work like this. It's such a pain in the butt. So what I did was I literally just like cashed it out to my bank, and I just sent in PayPal USD to my mother-in-law, and I was like, this is so much easier.
Yep.
I didn't even answer the question about the Bitcoin though, but I am
right, yeah.
I have the memes. Have you ever seen the memes? It's like my my bank account versus my crypto wallet.
Yeah.
That's
like bank
me.
account
So like
$12 Bitcoin account.
Yeah, that's me. So I save my money in Bitcoin. If I need cash or whatever, I'll do like Coinbase card or whatever. There's different things that you can do. That's me personally, but I think it's a case by case basis.
Yeah, and then for me, it just kind of depends on how I feel. Usually if I make some quick flips, I'll always take about 5 or 10% of it and just toss it into Bitcoin, throw it into my hardware wallet, and Bob's your uncle. Call it a day. And then also for Bitcoin, I just have like every single day about a coffee or 2 coffees worth of money just goes into Bitcoin every single day. So that's just part of my like long-term retirement strategy. And I just like I like knowing that every single day there's a few more Satoshis that I get. And it just like keeps me warm and fuzzy. But otherwise, everything else goes into stable coins.
Yeah. You can make good money on. Someone said it in the comments. 4.5%. You can do that on many different. Like Robinhood has that. Coinbase has that. I think Uphold has that. So like if you got cash on the sidelines, you don't want to just sitting there dead. There's definitely ways that you can make money, and you don't even have to stake it. You could just like have it. So there's definitely ways.
And then I'm also I sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but I also applied for the Coinbase credit card because I use Coinbase as my exchange. Although I tell everyone who's new, like, oh, should I use Coinbase as my first exchange? I'm like, no, go to Kraken.
No.
For the love of God, go to Kraken. I'm like, dear Lord. And they're like, oh, why do you use it? I'm like, because I've just used it for forever, and I have enough trading volume on there that they like treat me special and yada yada yada. And so I'm just like, this is fine.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, exactly. Do as I say, not as I do. Go to Kraken. Their trading fees are way cheaper. They're a version of Coinbase One where you get extra rewards and cheaper fees and all that kind of stuff. It's also cheaper. Just go to Kraken.
Yeah. Same for me. I use Coinbase. I have their card. We use all their groceries, and I get cash back in Bitcoin. So I use like USDC and all that stuff. So, well, I think this is. I know you said you got to go. I think this is a good stopping point. Got any closing thoughts for the people?
Only closing thought I would have, let's see, there are 2. One for trading, another one for life. One for trading here, guys, is if you're in profit, take some profits. Just take some. Just sell a little bit. Also, another bit of advice is I would personally say don't pick a number and say I'm not going to sell anything until it hits that number, because odds are you're immediately screwing yourself and you're not going to hit that number. So, give yourself a much wider sell range and make sure that you're taking some profits along the way, because we're not as smart as we sometimes like to think we are, especially after we win once or twice and we think we're a genius. So, just practice a little bit of humility, give yourself a payday, and you're going to be way better off doing that. And then the last thing, guys, dialogue is important, and hate is bad. So, yeah. Be good people.
I would say, I think it's important to have a plan. If it's a specific plan or a general plan, like you were kind of alluding to, you don't need to be married to the number that you pick. But I do think it's important to set up a plan, because even myself, like I can handle fear much better personally. But euphoria can sometimes get me, and I can get drunk on my own wine sometimes too. And I've done it before where, you get on a hot streak and you think that you can't miss. You think that you're God's gift to this earth. and the markets will have a way of humbling you. So I do think it's important to have a plan in place, a strategy, because to me, you want to set it up when it's boring, not as we're ripping, because you're going to want to move the goalpost again and again and again, and don't wait for the day that never comes. It's better to be a dollar short and a day early rather than wait for the day that never comes.
Yep. Oh, and I have one other thing I'd like to add too. For those of you guys who don't know, the first time I ever saw Yaboyski was somebody tagged me on TikTok, because I was the guy on TikTok who first found Aerodrome at 5 cents, and I started making content on it. And I was like, hey guys, I think this is a good coin. And then I got known as the Aerodrome guy. And so, everyone always tagged me in any video anyone made of Aerodrome. Yaboyski made a video on Aerodrome, and if you heard him earlier, Yaboyski, you don't like coins with high inflation. Guess what Aerodrome has? Really high inflation, like really high inflation. And so he
go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh,
well, I was going to say, and at that point when I was making the video, it already was ripped. You know what I mean?
Ripped.
Like it already,
yeah.
So go ahead. I cut you off.
And so, Yaboyski made a video being like, hey, here are my critiques of Aerodrome. And it was very well thought out. The reasoning around it, totally sound. I got tagged and be like, Will, what are your thoughts on this? Because my community is ultra bullish on Aerodrome and had been for a little while now. And I saw the video, stitched it, critiqued it with data points, but I was very respectful. I was like, hey, there's nothing here that he has said that is incorrect. This is my view of it. This is why I think those things that he brought up aren't necessarily the most important things for XYZ reason. And there we go. And it was a really nice, and then Yaboyski saw it, was like, as you made a video or a comment, I was like, hey, dude, like really appreciate the respectful dialogue here, as opposed to, particularly in TikTok and social media. I mean, social media in general, but particularly crypto TikTok, like social media people just like trying to throw punches at each other all the time. Yeah. And, I've almost gotten some little like influencer spats, and I'm just like, I'm 32 years old. I'm going to get into like a fight with you. Like, you can threaten a lawsuit action at me all the time, dude. Like, I don't care. Like, there have been a couple of times where like, well, I have these lawyers. I'm like, buddy, this is not going to go your way, but like, I'm out of here. I'm not even responding to these messages. And I don't even know why you're angry. I don't think I said anything. I think you're just trying to start beef to like get your clicks up or something. Anyway, but so I just wanted to say I appreciated the intro that we had to each other, because it was just like nice, respectful dialogue and civil discourse. It was good.
100%. And I think the whole point of the reason that William's saying this, I don't want to speak for William, but with everything that's going on right now, it's like we literally came together by disagreeing and having respectful dialogue for one another. And we probably still disagree, and that's okay. We don't need to be in lockstep and live in echo chambers. And I certainly don't want to, because I have been wrong many, many times in my life. I will be wrong many, many times as time goes on. And I don't want to live in an echo chamber. But, it was very refreshing to me. And I was like, this is awesome. I sent it to my friend Cliff, who helps me with Solnick. And I was like, man, this is, he disagreed, but it was really refreshing. So the point is, we can disagree and be respectful and come at it about data, logic, and reason, and may the best ideas win.
Yeah, amen, man.
All right. Well, make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I am at Gajewski on Twitter, at Yaboyski on YouTube, Instagram, at Skis Crypto, or at Yaboyski on TikTok. William, what are your handles?
Yeah, and then I am coin_guide on TikTok. There are a million fake account scammers, so be careful of that. coin_guide. Make sure you spell it correctly, please, dear God. Otherwise, you're going to get a message saying, hey, how's your trading going? It's not me, I promise you. I like it. Yeah. I don't like you that much. And then I'm over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at CoinGuideWW. My name is William Watson, so CoinGuideWW. You can find me there. You can also find me on Instagram or YouTube as a part of the Rise Up Morning Show. Yeah, guys.
I will never message you first. If a Yaboyski or a Skis Crypto pops in your DM, says, how's your trading going? That's somebody from Afghanistan. That's not me.
Yep.
Love you. All right, guys. Peace, love, prosperity. All right.
See you guys. Everyone on TikTok. I'll see you on Monday.